And welcome back to the Still Loading Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the decline of everything but mostly video games. My name is Aiden.
And I'm Matt.
And last few episodes have been kind of optimistic talking. We've been talking about, things we like, people didn't really like. Then we talked about things we really do love, that everyone should love, or at least should try to. So continuing on that kind of trend, we're going to kind of talk about just kind of hopes for the next few years. I talked about this a little bit last time. There are some things that I'm excited for. I find myself actually being excited for the lineup for the next. I want to say probably the next 8 months or so, because and keep that in mind too. When I say this year, I'm referring to the last bit of 2022 and the beginning of 2023, because it's something's coming out in a few months, but then the month after it turns 2023, something else is coming out. So for me, it's all the same thing right now. But yeah, so I figured just, kind of talk about hopes for that, some things we're hyped for. And in the first episode, we talked a lot about, not a lot, but a little bit of just things we'd like to see more in the gaming industry. And I feel like some things are going in that direction, but we kind of delve into that some more. So that's what you're in for today. Anything you want to say?
No. Not really.
Well, I got some hot takes like usual.
Oh, hell yeah. Hit it.
Last time we talked about Diablo Immortal and the fucking scam that game was. I'm pleased to say it's gotten worse, not for the consumers or for the company. There's been a lot of websites that either promote for Diablo games or make guides for Diablo games or anything like that, and they are pulling out completely. They no longer want to be associated with Diablo. And I think that's an absolute win.
Yeah, totally. Especially I did some more research on the whole RNG thing you were talking about before, and how many tens of thousands of dollars one would have to invest to make that possible. It's worse odds than playing Texas Hold'em in Vegas. Literally worse odds than that, and you stand to win a lot more money doing that.
Damn, and the house always wins, so...
Yeah, well, in this case, the house is winning every time you click that button to buy shit, so...
Yeah, and it's already a scumbag move, and it's worse than... It's worse than Bungie and Bethesda. I will fully admit that. I put them on my blacklist for different reasons. It was mostly Bungie's just, fucking hard deviation into DLC, and just forcing you to buy DLC, basically, to enjoy the game. And with Bethesda, it's just they ripped off their fans with that Fallout 76 shit, and also I just think they make bad games. But this is probably worse than that, by far, because this is literally not even trying to rip off their fans. They are ripping off their fans entirely.
Yeah, it's blatant too. It's not like a sorry kind of thing. No, it's no, you're gonna get fucked. Here it is.
Yeah, and what makes this worse too is with everything Blizzard went through and this year with the lawsuit and everything, and I think what really pisses me off is I feel like this was a ploy to kind of just make up for that, basically.
You think it was a recomp?
Yeah, well, because all the payout, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, this is just the last time I researched it, which was only a couple months ago. But I believe the payout for that lawsuit was $10 million to the people that were affected by it. And like I said, within the first 2 weeks, they made $24 million off of Diablo Immortal. It's a drop in the bucket now. It doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, there have been for a while, but they are a media giant, and they're going to continue to be a media giant.
Yeah, and I mean, what pisses me off is just part of that lawsuit was this whole thing of Blizzard was put into a kind of a victim place in the media where they're oh well, obviously we care about our employees and obviously we care about them, but we're not doing great as a company right now, we can't blah blah blah, and it's you're clearly doing fine. Maybe that's true and maybe that's what led to the desperation of Diablo Immortal, but it's just it's hearing someone wronged you and they're not paying for it whatsoever.
Yeah, no, that's solidifying them being pretty much bulletproof. Oh, you're gonna hit us for 10 million, we're gonna come back and hit our people, the people that give us a job for over double that.
Yeah. And that was just the first 2 weeks. They probably made much more money than $24 million. But that was just the first 2 weeks. If there's any good news in this, I would say, is that people are realizing it's bullshit. And, there's been not just me talking about this, people acknowledging Diablo Immortal fucking sucks, and that it's a ripoff and it's a scam, and you know people are denouncing it on stream. You know, big streamers or YouTubers who play it, they're like, yeah, fuck this game. I'm not playing this game anymore.
Yeah, good. I mean, it's unfortunate that mobile gaming is getting another black mark. They don't really have the greatest track record anyway, but that's not going to stop people from playing them.
I agree with that, and mobile games can be good. Square Enix releases a lot of like mobile games that are basically the equivalent of like an old like Nintendo game.
Yeah.
Like this level of quality, I would say they are obviously like updated graphics, but like that's the level of quality it is. And it's just there's some games as well that like you basically just have to play them to achieve something, and that's what gaming should be. You just play it and you do stuff. But there's a lot of corporations, man, just like they really, really like they make the game a grind fest on purpose to encourage you by loot boxes.
Yeah, because now you're subletting your time.
Yes, and I have mixed feelings about it. It's not so bad right now, but like even Pokemon Go started to do this a little bit.
Really?
Where like you can't buy the resource you need to level up your Pokemon and stuff, but like they introduced a new kind of like leveling candy basically, where it's like before it was as simple as you catch the Pokemon, you get candy, use the candy, level it up, easy, done. Now there's like a second kind of candy you need to keep leveling them up, and that just seems like it's adding extra steps, and I have really mixed feelings about it.
Maybe because you got a lot of love for that game, maybe chalk it up to game evolution. Maybe.
I mean, it could potentially be that thing where like maybe people like the tryhards, which I'm not, maybe they have just gone to a point where they need something else, and maybe that's what it's for. But it just worries me when games do that, like just adding that extra level of grind basically, where it's like I just don't see why that needs to be a thing. But we'll see, so far, like I said, they have not introduced a loot box being like, oh, you want candy, here's a loot box for candy. They have not done that, which is great. So
Is Pokemon Go still made by Game Freak? Or has that not been a thing? I've been out of the Pokemon loop since Gold version.
I believe it's Niantic. Like, it's a company called Niantic.
That sounds right, yeah.
That makes Pokemon Go. Game Freak, they're doing okay stuff. Like, they're not... They've made some pretty questionable decisions, but not the worst. But, yeah.
Well, I mean, they're not on your list, so...
No. I was actually talking to my fiance about this the other day, and I was like, Ubisoft is, like, one scandal away from me being, like, fucking done with them. Because, like, that's another company that just notoriously makes shitty, like, unfinished games and then charges DLC for it.
Yeah, but the gems that come out, dude, like For Honor.
Yeah.
The game is still so good. It's still getting content.
Yeah.
Still running seasons. Still staying relevant.
Yeah, there are gems, that's true. And some of the newest Assassin's Creed have been okay. But they're one scandal away, man. They're on my watch list. Like,
oh, they're on thin ice?
Yeah, man, they're on thin ice, dude. But yeah, that's kind of just like the more sinister stuff I have to talk about at the start of the podcast. I guess moving into kind of the more positive things.
Yeah, totally.
Is there anything that you're kind of like looking forward to in the next, like, we'll say like next year, we'll say like 12 months?
Oh, much shorter than that. So I've put the needle of Black Desert back in my arm.
Gotcha.
So yeah, mixed feelings about that, but I do really, really enjoy that game. I found what made me not enjoy it the first time I played it was because everyone said, it's like this really awesome, cinematic, beautiful game. And I was like, well, I'm not seeing that. But then I realized I was playing it on a crap-ass laptop.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then shout out to my buddy Brendan and my buddy Rich who upgraded my PC. Thanks, boys. I can now play that game the way it's supposed to be played. And I was like, oh yeah, this is much more visually appealing. So the class I've been playing gets her awakening sometime soon. So I'm really excited to see that. It's kind of cool to like get to ground floor a little bit of that. Like,
yeah,
nobody knows what that character's fully potential is, and like everyone's just like in the speculation phase, which I think is one of the most fun places to be in video games. Like,
yeah, no, there really is. I
love the speculation. Like,
I do too.
Like, I hate to bring up this again, but like, when WoW initially talked about releasing the Worgen, everyone was speculating like, what side are they gonna go? And if they go Horde side, what is Alliance gonna get, like, or whatever, and then they released, and I'm like, oh, they're an ally, that makes sense. But like, just that whole time, like that few months of time frame, and like nobody
Yeah,
knew.
no, absolutely. I mean, it's also like that same feeling of like the schoolyard, like talking to your friends at lunch kind of feeling about
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's we talked about that a little bit in one of the episodes. Like, it's like that joy of like nobody knows. So it's like, oh, did you know if you like beat the game in exactly this amount of time using only this weapon, like the secret boss appears. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
it's the same shit, and like it's great. Like I do miss that, but now you can just Google it pretty much.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
that's the thing. So it's nice whenever even Google can't answer your question.
Yeah, dude, Pearl Abyss is playing this real close to the vest. They released like a 15-second cinematic trailer for Her Awakening, and basically it's like, what can you scrape out of that 15 seconds to like support what you think?
Yeah.
Like, it's really great. Like, people are like, oh, are the dragon wings gonna be available? Like, is this gonna be there? Is that gonna be there? Like, well, what's going on? Like, again, just like what you were talking about, it's the schoolyard thing. So it's
Yeah.
fun. So that's something I'm super pumped about.
Is there any other games or?
Well, yeah, Bloodlines 2. I talked about that last week. I'm not holding my breath though.
I mean, it has a release date. Like you can pre-order it on GameStop's website. Like it has an official release date apparently. So
Yeah, it had one 2 years ago too.
yeah, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm willing to wait. I'm
yeah.
not gonna send them. I'm not gonna pull a CD Projekt Red on this.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about this a little bit later on too, just down the line. But like, I'm okay with it. I do genuinely hope it's worth the wait. I would hate for something to be pushed back over and over and over again, and then it finally comes out and it's terrible. That would
Yeah.
make me very sad. But yeah, I'm actually excited for that as well. Um, I never beat the first one. I think we talked about that either just hanging out or on the podcast. I'm not sure, but from what I played of the first one, I really liked it,
It's
and
fun.
I think it offers something that a lot of games don't have, and I'm hoping they keep going in that direction, but they just kind of polish up the stuff that was like kind of rigid or kind of sloppy with the first game, like combat being a big one. Like
Totally.
I'd love a more intuitive combat system, I guess. I'd also like more kind of like character options, like customization wise, which is like how exactly do you want to build your your vampire essentially.
Right. The sheet's okay for that, but again, you almost have to have had to have played the game before, like the pen and paper version,
Yeah.
to really get how that sheet operates. Because that's literally what they did. They just ported the character sheet into the game.
I'm wondering if they're gonna do that as well for the new one. If they're gonna kind of like update it and be like, now it's VTM 5th edition or whatever it is for the second game.
Like I said, like the problem with that is like White Wolf folded, so
Oh,
their
yeah.
stuff isn't in production anymore. Like, just last year, I sold my entire Vampire the Masquerade and Werewolf collection, all the books I had, for about $350. And that's a screaming deal. One of those books was worth almost $500 by itself. So, but it went to a really, really good person that loves that series as much as I do. So, I was willing to cut him a deal because I knew these weren't just going to sit on somebody's shelf, like that kind of deal.
Yeah, yeah.
So they tried to do a revamp a few years ago, just under the title of World of Darkness, to give everything available, but it wasn't very good. Like, I tried to play it and they didn't fix what needed to be fixed with it. Like, when I ran that game at a table, I ran Vampire the Masquerade rules with Werewolf the Apocalypse 2nd edition combat. Because the combat is so broken. It's not broken, it's just not exciting. Like, it's basically, if you get your vampire powers leveled up to a certain point, they become what's called a plot device. Where, like, I'm gonna do this, and my justification for it is my vampire power, and it just happens, and the storyteller has no choice. Like, it's in the book, just to accept that that's what went down. So you can imagine how that goes when you're sitting at a table with not one, but two power gamers.
Oh boy, that sounds awful.
Yeah, when they got their 5th level powers, that campaign lasted another session and then died. Like, nobody just wanted to play anymore. It was horrible, but
I mean, I'm all for the god fantasy, like being an immortal badass, but like that's excessive.
it's not fair. Like, especially knowing that fire damage was like a thing, and that was like aggravated damage to vampires. when they light a semi truck on fire and throw it, because that's what their vampire power is super strength. That just kills your big bad that you've been trying to kill for forever, but they just did it in a turn, and there's nothing you can do because you have to math it. It sucks.
Yeah, I did. I've only played a few sessions of the one of the Vampire the Masquerade games. I don't know what edition it was, but yeah, I can see what you mean. Combat was not the best.
No, and there was the White Wolf wiki, which did what I was doing naturally. It was like, try this combat system. It's from another game, but it works flawlessly, and it totally worked, and it made combat much more exciting. Like, well, a gunfight lasted more than a turn, basically.
Yeah, well, let's hope that now that you say that, that's another thing I have to like really question and hope for though. So like it's based. Honestly, I'd be okay if they just made their own system. If like the game was just like an action RPG and like you had like these various skill trees inspired from the game, obviously, but I think that would be a much better way to go.
One thing that irritated me lore-wise that the first game didn't touch on, which is totally a thing, which is Diablerie, which you're kind of stuck 12th generation in that game, which is kind of garbage, I think. Because in the pen and paper game, if you drain another vampire, like drain their blood and drink it, you close the gap between your generations. So if like a 9th generation vampire, you Diablerized them, you would close the gap between those two generations. You'd go up a generation, which opens up more powers for you. That's how you get stronger.
Yeah, that's what my character tried to do.
Tried to do Diablerie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we didn't know there was a system for it, but I just talked to my DM about it. I was like, that's what I'm gonna do. Like I'm gonna eat other vampires. Yeah. Just so you know.
Yeah, you and every other big bad. That's the main goal. The whole goal is to get because Cain is the first generation vampire, the first vampire. So you can never be generation 0 or generation 1 because you'd have to Diablerize Cain and good fucking luck.
Yeah.
The Antediluvians are the generation after him who started the clans, and then their progeny have a name too. I forget what they're called, but everything after them is generation 4, which is like the highest you can.
Man, just talking about this game me excited. Like,
yeah, dude.
I love World of Darkness so much. Like, I just really love that world, and I feel like they haven't gotten a. And I don't know if more of them exist because I've only played 2 of them at this point, but I just feel like they have not gotten a good game. Like, they have not gotten a very solid, like 100%, like this is a good game. Bloodlines came close. That's one I enjoyed the most. That Werewolf one was really bad. I think I talked about that last time.
Oh yeah.
I think honestly as well, like that Werewolf game has tempered my expectations for this game. So I really, really hope it's good because I love World of Darkness as a setting. I really do.
Did you play that one that I was really irritated about that I won't play? So can I live vicariously through your open mind?
Which one? I don't know.
So they released this earlier this year, I think. It's a goddamn Battle Royale Vampire the Masquerade game.
Oh,
did you play that?
Yes, I did. And I don't like Battle Royales. That's the problem. I think I played that game for a few hours. What sucked about that game is it's really fun when you're not doing the Battle Royale stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because, like, you start off, you make your vampire, you pop into, like, a sanctuary, and you just start talking to people. And there's, like, a realist, like, not realistic, but, like, a real RPG aspect to it.
Yeah.
Where you're talking to members of different clans and, like, learning about the clans and, like, what kills vampires and all that stuff. It's really cool. But then it's just a Battle Royale game. And it's just, it did, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but there seemed like no progression whatsoever. It just seemed like that was what it was. You talk to people and then go play the Battle Royale.
That's stupid.
I probably would have stuck it out a little bit longer if there was some kind of like progression. If it was like not even like in a way where like you have to win matches, it's a fucking Battle Royale game, but like participate in a number of matches or like participate or get this many kills or you know something like that. And there was progression in that way. I would have stuck it out a lot longer if they had something like that in it.
But no, it's just like, here it is. Here's the game. Go nuts.
Yeah, and like I said, I may not have given it enough time. If that is a system in it, let me know. Maybe I'll download and try it again. But yeah, I played the game for about 3 hours. Most of which just learning how to play the game because it gives you a tutorial, but then like the tutorial versus like actually playing the battle royale is really hard, and I would just like kill people on accident or just get murked immediately, and I was like, great, well I'm done.
Well, yeah, if you're not having fun with it, then why the hell play it? You know?
I fully admit I just did not get the handle of the controls down because it's so much harder to play that game when you're actually fighting people than like when you're just doing the tutorial.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And that's the thing too is like they should have had a bot match thing. Like they should have allowed you to play against bots or something to like learn the finer points of this. I feel like that would have went a long way because a battle royale, you know, like I think PUBG was one of the first ones to become popular. That was a very simple game. You just land, you shoot. That's it. You don't have cool vampire powers or like jumping across fucking buildings or like whatever. Like, you know. So it needed a little bit more of an edge. So yeah, I mean, I fully admit I may not give it a fair shake, but I played it for a few hours and I just was not having fun.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, why do something because you don't like it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I heard before Bloodlines 2 got a re-release, or before it got an actual official release date again, which is I think later or early 23. I heard that that's what got scrapped. Like they scrapped Bloodlines 2 to make that, and I was gonna be very, very pissed off if that was the case. I'm just hoping that Bloodlines 2 isn't like all they would have to do is update the graphics and give me an actual character creation where like I can customize my person and put different gear on them, because there's only like 4 outfit sets per character in that game. Granted, it's very old, but you can't like customize their face or anything like that. You're just playing that default skin of whatever clan you are. If they were to change that and give me the same game over again, I'd play it again.
I went down a different rabbit hole, and like what I heard about Bloodlines 2 was that the battle royale was not like, it wasn't they scrapped Bloodlines 2 to make it. It was that they figured out that Bloodlines 2, like they announced it too early basically, and it was not going to be done when they thought it was. So they basically took like a piece of it and turned it into a battle royale game to give people something to do until the actual game comes out.
I hope so.
I hope so too. Yeah, I mean, you never know with the internet, but that's kind of like what I went down with that path because I initially thought the same thing. I didn't even hear that from someone, but that's what I heard initially, or that's what I thought initially. I was like, did they fucking really turn it into a fucking battle royale game? So I started researching it, and I was like, okay, it's still coming out supposedly.
Yeah. I don't know. I hope it's gonna be one of those things that was worth waiting for. Like Witcher 3 was so worth waiting for.
Yeah, it's one of the few open world games I like.
Witcher 3 is. I don't know. I'm being a bit of a hipster about this, but I was a Witcher fanboy way before it was cool.
Yeah, yeah.
And then like that TV show came out that I still can't get through. I can't get through 2 episodes of it, man. Like I just don't care. I don't care about that. It's not.
Yeah, it's from the books. I mean,
it's not my Geralt. Damn it.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna actually talk about that a little bit too. Like, the next Witcher project was announced apparently.
New game?
Yeah,
Really?
It was announced. No, there's no details as to what it is.
But I swear to God, if it's Gwent, I'm gonna light the world on fire.
Well, they already did that path.
Yeah, people still like it.
Yeah, apparently, from what I heard, like, and I saw a bunch of stuff, people are really excited about it. Like CD Projekt Red, like, announced, like, yeah, new Witcher game in the works, but there was no details about it whatsoever. So we'll see what that turns out to be. How do you feel about this? Being an original fanboy, I'd actually love to hear your opinion about this. How would you feel if the next Witcher game you get to make your own character as opposed to playing a pre-made character?
Like I get to pick my own school?
Yes.
Give me now.
Yeah, see, I feel like I thought with Witcher 3's ending, it was a good ending to just let it be an ending. And so my first thought when I heard about this new Witcher project was like, why don't we just make our own characters and make our own school or pick our own school, and like it could very much so function like a skill tree system. You can just be like,
100%.
yeah, I'm gonna be a cat school, I'm gonna be a wolf school, I'm gonna be a snake school, you know, a viper school. Let that be a thing. I'd even be okay with it if it was like similar to like a Diablo thing where like you pick your class at the start, and so you're like, oh, you're gonna be a Witcher, you're gonna be Viper School, and like those trees have their own thing, you know. Like I'd be okay with something like that.
Same. There's so much to offer in that, just in that story arc. Like as simplistic in concept as it is, like Yeah, you're a monster slayer, and the whole world hates you.
From what I understand from the lore, it would have to be a game set before the other games because you can't make new Witchers anymore.
No, yeah, Trial of the Grasses just doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
And also, people were really not cool about you just come taking their kids.
Yeah. So I think it'd have to be a game in the past. It'd have to be a new setting basically, but before like this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, because Geralt is like, he's a capital H hero. Like I'd be fine playing like a sub hero, just like even if they were like drastically underpowered compared to Geralt. Like, you're just playing a Witcher.
Yeah.
I would be all about that actually. Problem with that is like I'm already seeing like how the DLCs would work. Like, oh, well, new school is released, new DLC to play. Like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to go to that negative place, but I mean, this is the podcast.
But you're probably
about the decline of everything.
You're probably right. I don't know. They've been pretty good about it. The Witcher 3 DLCs, from what I understand, I haven't even played them yet, but from what people say, like, they're completely worth the price. They're basically like another 20-hour game on top of the Witcher 3.
I bought the I pre-ordered Witcher 3, so I got like the release edition or whatever it was called. I got 17 free DLCs, which was alternate skins for Triss, Yennefer, alternate horse skins, some cooler horse bags. I got Hearts of Stone, the first DLC,
I think
for free.
so.
They gave me a copy of the soundtrack for the game on CD and a full fold-out map, all for free. And the coolest part of it, I know this is kind of like whatever, but the coolest thing was there was a thank you note from CD Projekt
That's
Red.
Amazing.
Yeah,
that's not a lame thing at all.
Well, some people think that's lame,
dude. Fuck them if they think it's lame. Like,
it got me a little misty-eyed, you know, like I said, because I've been playing since, you know, Witcher 1. And like, this is a big thank you to the fans out there that made this possible. They showed a picture on the back of their very first E3 conference, which was like a picnic table, like a fold-out picnic table, a hand-drawn The Witcher emblem, and a old computer. And that was it. That was their E3 release at like a sub table. And then it showed a picture of The Witcher 3 at E3 when it was current, and it was like, you know, the big lighted stage, and like their banners were flying, and like it was like, I was like, oh my god,
that's amazing. That's what you really want from your game developers. Like, they remember their roots, they care about their fans. That's what you want to fucking see. That is I have stuff to talk about that later as well, but
yeah, man,
that makes me like them more, because honestly I didn't care until now.
Yeah, CD Projekt Red has been very good to me. They're very, very like, and like, it's such a small thing too, but like, they spent so much money on the soundtrack of that game. It's like, do you want to listen to Steel for Humans when you're driving on your car? Now you can, and I totally did, man. I kept that CD in my truck CD player for a long time. I was like, yeah, going on a road trip, Witcher 3 soundtrack, why not?
Yeah, and that's one of the things I want to talk about as well. Just like things to hope for in the future is like, I'd love for deluxe editions to fucking matter again, or like pre-order bonuses to matter again, or whatever. You know, it feels like you get a deluxe edition nowadays, you're spending potentially over $100. If it's a game that's not $60 base price, it's going to go up to $100. Even if it is $60 base price, you're paying like $120 sometimes, like for something you really love. And like, the best they can do is give you an art book, or like a wall tapestry or something. Yeah,
I got the last game I got ground floored after Witcher 3 was For Honor. I picked that up on Valentine's Day, and I got the 3 pins, like metal pins, for the 3 original factions.
Yeah.
And because that game didn't go over as well as they thought, at least at my local GameStop, chick behind the counter was like, you actually play this? And I was like, yeah. She just reached into the bin and just gave me a handful of the pins. She's like, here you go. Like, nobody got this edition, so just take them, please.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool, but yeah, like, that's what I got, some DLC shit too, but like,
well, that's part of it too, is like a lot of deluxe editions you get DLC. You're getting like some thing that just doesn't ultimately matter in the game you bought for more than it was originally. You know, I want deluxe editions to matter again. I want them to be like, you know, yes, I happily will spend, you know, and giving, you know, I talk a lot of good stuff about Square Enix because they're a great company still. Like the Final Fantasy VII remake deluxe edition was super worth it. I would have gotten it if they weren't sold out everywhere.
Oh, really? What did you get special with that?
So I think you got like a figurine, you got a soundtrack, an art book. I think you got like an interview or something like that. You have to correct me if I'm wrong. Like it's been a long time, but it was worth it. You got a lot of stuff. Yeah, you got a lot of stuff with it. And I tried to buy it, but it literally every website I went to buy it from was sold out. Like this product is like unavailable, and I was like, "Are you fucking serious?"
Well, people adore that game for a reason.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly will. I think it was Dark Souls 2 or 3. I think it was 3. If you got like the deluxe holy shit edition, like the one that was like $200-300, you got like one of the thrones or something like as an actual statuette, which would be super like, you know, heads up to game developers if you guys, you know, want to start handing out statuettes, like
yeah.
I'll spend the money, especially if it's something I really like. But
yeah,
less DLC, more cool physical shit would be cool.
Yeah, that's basically the crux of my argument. Like less DLC and more physical stuff. I think there's been a few games now that I've bought a deluxe edition of. It's been like the extra $20 on. It's just like it's a sticker or a wall tapestry or like here's an art book, and I'm like I appreciate the art book, but
yeah, I mean you guys want to remake Legend of Dragoon, start handing out, you know.
Oof.
You know, give me an Albert figure. I wouldn't be mad.
Oof. That topic hurts me. I don't even know how to say about that.
So Blue Sky has not released what PlayStation 1 Sony property they bought yet. Yeah. And it's been under wraps for like 2 years now.
And they did talk about possibly redoing a remaster of it years ago on Twitter. It would be fun to do. That's all we got.
Yeah, you extinguished that candle for me, and I'm probably just going to drive into oncoming traffic, so...
Well, maybe some more happier topics.
That is happy. That's the best I got, man.
A few things I'm actually hyped for game-wise. Like I said, the next, like, I would say 8-9 months for me.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of cool stuff coming out, actually. This month alone, at the end of the month, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is coming out.
Oh, neat.
Which I'm a huge fan of that series. It expands beyond Chronicles. There's, like, Xenoblade. There's, like, Xenogears, which I played the original on PlayStation. And it turned into Xeno Saga. Like, the Xeno universe is enormous. But Xenoblade Chronicles, particularly for me, I really love. And so the first two were great, and I'm really excited for the third one. It's a Nintendo product, so it's like you have like that. I personally have that kind of like, will it be good? I don't know, because Nintendo. But the first two were really good, and the thing is, people have already been giving it shit for like its graphic quality, and I'm like, I don't care. Like, as long as it's a good game, that's what I want. Just please have a good game. The original Xenoblade Chronicles came out on the Wii, and it looked atrocious. Like, it looked like children's drawings of like what a 3D model might look like potentially. Yeah,
you're unlocking a lot of memories. I remember my buddy Austin playing this.
Yeah.
And I remember having the same reservations, but the game looked so cool.
It was so good, yeah.
Like, mechanically, it was cool.
Yes, it was very good. And I was watching my roommate play at the time, and I was like, man, this game looks fun, but also terrible. I don't know about that, man. And then years later, they came out with the remaster. Or it's more of a remake because they did make all the models from the ground up. They actually remade the game, essentially, but it's a remaster of the first game.
Yeah.
And I finally bought it and played it, and I was like, holy shit, I should have not have waited. This is a fucking awesome game. And I immediately got Xenoblade Chronicles 2 whenever I saw that available. And I was like, yep, gonna play that too. Really fucking amazing game. Like...
And now 3.
Now 3. Like, I have so many questions about it because of just knowing the plot elements from the first two games. So I'm like, I have a lot of questions. There's things I want to know.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to play that. I'm hoping it's good. You know, I always have that reservation of like, maybe the third one won't be so good, or the first one was really good. Maybe the sequel might suck though, or and sometimes that is the case, unfortunately. So.
Yeah, I hate being proved right about that kind of thing. You know.
Yeah.
Like, letdowns. And like, I don't remember who made the original or concept or game or where this comes from. I think it might be part of the Tales series or the same company. But I got this game for GameCube out of nowhere called Skies of Arcadia.
Oh
You
yeah,
remember that game?
I do remember it. I remember the name basically.
Yeah. Well, I remember playing this game and like, God, I don't even talk to that dude anymore, so I can't even ask him. But like, I was playing it and he's like, "This looks exactly like blank." I can't remember. And then he showed me that game and I was like, "Wow!" Like the art style and everything is like. And turns out it was just like a scrap side project that they didn't think would sell. And turns out it's like a legendary GameCube game now. But yeah, I played it for a little bit. And I was
I've
like, man,
only heard good things about that game.
yeah, it was cool, man. It was,
I know nothing about it though.
yeah, it was cool. That's what I remember. Like,
Yeah.
that's like probably like my marathon mode when I was a kid. Like, I played through so many games because I had so much time.
Yeah.
I miss those days.
Same. Yeah. Luckily, we're going down a career path that involves video games, so hopefully that'll work out. Other things I'm really hyped for is the new God of War game, God of War Ragnarok.
Oh yeah.
I have no reservations about that game.
No.
I trust Corey Balrog. He is a fucking visionary of a man, very integral. I follow him on Twitter, and someone had tweeted at me. He's like, "Hey, tell me something that like nobody knows about the new God of War project." And he's like, "Oh, well, it was made by people who have a lot of passion and care about this." And I was like, "Something that we don't know, Corey."
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Yeah,
like he's such a good dude, and yeah, I think that game might break me if it is bad.
Oh yeah.
Because how much faith I have in it, just from someone who's never done me wrong before, and like his, God, like probably 20 or so years of like making video games, like he's never done me wrong once. So I just,
God of War came out in 2001.
yeah,
I remember watching my big brother. He got that game for his birthday, and
yeah,
I watched him play that, and I was like, "This is really cool." And I was a little kid. I was like, "This is really cool." And then like the tutorial boss, the Hydra that you skewer on top of the
yeah,
ship.
yeah,
I was like, "Holy shit! That is the coolest thing I've ever seen."
yeah, and like his quality's just gotten higher and higher from there. Like he just, and not even just the quality of the game. Like I said, like I've talked about him numerous times. I'm sure the integrity that man has. A man who refuses to embrace DLC culture.
Yep.
And would rather just make a new game instead of just making a little fucking DLC project.
Yep.
Like, you don't see that. You just don't. But he's also proof that, like, him and his team, like, you can make a quality game and not be a scumbag about it.
Mm-hmm.
You can make a good game and you don't have to be an asshole about it.
Would you say that he is the standard bearer, or should be?
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. And on the other side of that too, actually. Naoki Yoshida is the head of the Final Fantasy 14 team. He's also the head for Final Fantasy 16, which is coming out. I want to say either in December, or it might be the project's coming out next year. So it's actually December 2023, not December turning into 2023. I can't remember. And that's coming out long down the line, but I'm very excited for it because it looks cool to begin with. But he's the head of that project, and like, man's a fucking visionary. I have a little thing about him, so I'm not going to tell the whole story, but like I think people need to hear this more. Final Fantasy 14 originally was a failed MMO.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Final Fantasy Online. Yeah.
Yeah, so not 11. Like they went from 11 to 14 basically, like in a different game.
Okay.
So 11 didn't become 14. Like 14 was its own thing. It was kind of like their second attempt at an MMO, and it did not go well. And it just was not selling good. There were basically a cult following the game who was like, "Yeah, I do like it, but it's not that great."
Oh, okay.
And that was kind of the fan base. And so they brought in Yoshida, Yoshi P, as we call him in the Final Fantasy community.
Oh yeah.
They brought him in, and he chose like some of the ballsiest things imaginable, where he current day, if you play Final Fantasy 14, the first expansion or setting is called A Realm Reborn. And it's called that because he made this incredibly ballsy decision to blow up the original game, canonically in the story. He was just like, yeah, so this thing is happening. And over time, updates happened in the game where like this red moon was appearing and it got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until the climax happened. And like he literally blew up the planet basically to create Final Fantasy 14 as we know it now.
Really?
And I love that story because he talks about how he's like, I went into the board meeting and I pretty much laid it on the table. He's like, "There's option A. We keep doing what we're doing, and hope it works out. There's option B, and we do this, and we hope it works out." He's like, "But those are our two options." And he explained what he's trying to do, and they're like, "Fuck it, option B, let's go."
Oh shit.
You know, and lo and behold, it's one of the most successful Final Fantasy games to date. I talk about him especially because in that interview I'm referring to, and I might put a link to it below. It's like a 3-part story, so it's very long, but I'll see if I can get like a link for it. But he talks about how like his gaming experience came from playing games as a kid. He's like, "Yeah, I remember playing Mario, and then I moved from Mario to something else, to something else, to something else." And he's like, the entire time, what made me love it, he's like, he thought about the potential of video games as like what they could be eventually, and like the kind of experiences he'd like to have. And like that, just coming from that place as a game developer, like that matters so much,
Right.
because you're not trying to make $1, you're trying to make a good product.
Yeah, there's passion behind it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like he equated making video games to ancient samurai or ancient blacksmiths who made katanas. He's like, you know, ancient blacksmiths would like put their heart and soul into their sword. He's like, that's what video games should be, and
Totally.
like that's just such a fucking like, you don't see that often.
No, they're looking. He doesn't sound like the kind of person that looks at a bottom line so much as he looks at the core product.
Yeah, he's like, what do I want this vision to be, and do we want it to be good? And that's why 14 has like succeeded, because every single time they look at it and they're like, can we improve on this? Yeah, I think we can, and they just keep improving upon it. And you know, the game has gone through a lot of changes over the years. You know, initially being blown up and reborn, and then also just how the gameplay has changed. Like there used to be a lot of complicated stances; those aren't in the game anymore. It just keeps getting better. You know. And so I have full faith that Final Fantasy 16 will be awesome, because, you know, I trust him. He's similar to Cory Barlog. Like I trust him. Like I think it's going to be a great game.
Well, dude, I really hope so. I haven't played a Final Fantasy game all the way through since 12, and I don't even think I finished 12. I played a lot of it. The game was long, but I really enjoyed that. So I've yet to be disappointed with one. Like even Dirge of Cerberus, I really liked.
I think all the 7 games in the universe are good, honestly.
It's a very interesting universe.
Yeah, I you know, it's considered like a cliche of like, oh, of course you like Final Fantasy 7, but like, yeah, it's a good fucking game. Like,
Yeah, what do you want? Like, leave me alone.
yeah, dude. Like, and I don't think they've done an offshoot of that game that was bad. Like, you know, Crisis Core, obviously great. Dirge of Cerberus, great. Even the movie Advent Children, fucking awesome. Like, you know,
That was my introduction to. Well, okay, so funnily enough, my introduction to Final Fantasy VII happened in Kingdom Hearts.
oh really? Yeah, because you Cloud and
I was
Sephiroth.
I was like, Cloud, that guy's really cool. And then my friend Cheyenne, she was like, yeah, he's from Final Fantasy VII. And I was like, no. And then I got a copy of that, played it for a little while, and then she was, have you seen the movie? And I was like, there's a movie?
Oh shit.
And we watched the movie together, and I was like, okay, this is pretty much the best thing I've ever seen in my life. It's like super, super weeb time for me too, so I was like, this is the
It was a good time, man. It really was. And you know, kind of what you were talking about earlier, the speculation, the not knowing. That movie brought up a lot of speculation. Like people watched that movie and like would watch it over and over again and be like, well, I noticed this in this scene that like this thing was present, so maybe what that means for the future is that
Oh yeah, totally.
you know, and like that was a really, really good time.
Yeah, dude. Just so great. That's one of the few movies that it doesn't matter if I'm watching it in Japanese or like dubbed or subbed. It's a great time either way.
Yeah. That game also brought about a lot of speculation for Kingdom Hearts 2 because kind of around the same time period, like Kingdom Hearts 2 was coming out, was when Advent Children came out, and there's a lot of speculation of what some of the organization members were. They're like, oh, well, Reno in Final Fantasy Advent Children. Like, you look at Axel, like, look, they're
totally.
very similar. Like,
Oh, totally.
and you know, they just these huge before YouTube was a thing, and people would make these hour-long retrospectives or whatever. It's like, I miss that time. I really do.
So do I.
It was just just speculation all over the place. It was great.
My first girlfriend ever in high school used to cosplay Reno all the time.
Nice.
Yeah, she's a cool chick.
Speaking of Final Fantasy, though, this is a good segue. So the Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 was announced.
Okay.
I'm excited for it, like, because I have my theory.
Yeah, your theory.
My theory. I need to see if it's true.
Your tinfoil hat theory. I love it.
It's really, I mean, hey, I think it works. I don't remember what episode I talked about that in, honestly.
Neither do I, but it has been talked about on this podcast.
Yes, I went to I think it was probably in the remake episode, potentially.
Yeah, I think, because that was like our positive side of remake. I'm pretty sure that's the
Yeah,
one.
I was like, I'm pretty sure it's not a remake, guys. But yeah, that's my theory. So I'm excited to see if that's true. Crisis Core was announced.
I know. I'm so stoked.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about it, honestly. I saw some updates today. So some of the things you're talking about is optimization. So they're going to make it run smoother, basically.
Okay.
Which that was one of my biggest complaints, was that the combat just felt very stiff and rigid, and it made some fights really fucking annoying. But then again, the combat in 7 remake, like, it's also kind of stiff and rigid. So I don't know if fix means they're gonna change what I don't like about it, but it's Crisis Core. I haven't played that game in God so long. Like, I had it on the original PSP, if that says anything.
Oh, like the big fat boy.
Yes, I have it right over there.
Oh, nice.
Somewhere. Yeah, I don't even have any of my PSP games anymore. I think I have like one maybe. But yeah, I played. That was how long ago it was. Like, it was a new game when I played it and beat it. So
Same.
it has been a very long time since I played it. I'm excited to revisit it. Talk about doing the music, adding voice lines to the things that previously didn't have voice lines.
Oh yeah, a lot of characters in that game didn't have voice acting. I acquired that game in a very interesting roundabout way.
Oh.
Yeah, so it was brand new when it came out, and my buddy Kyle really wanted to play it. Kyle didn't have a PSP, and he didn't want to buy one. So he made a deal with me. He's like, Matt, can I borrow your PSP for like a month? And then when I give it back to you, I'll give you the game. And I was like, dude, fair trade. So yeah, I let him borrow. He ended up only borrowing my PSP for like 8 days. And then he's like, yeah, I did everything, so you can just have that back. He's like, I also bought you a memory stick for it, because, why not? So yeah, it's a super, super cool thing.
That is really cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Kyle listens to the podcast too, or he might. But,
well, shout out to Kyle, man.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up?
The G, yeah. He also bought me a copy of Dissidia as well.
Oh, yeah. I really like the original Dissidia. I don't like how it evolved over the years. I played the newest one. I did not have fun with it.
Is it the same? Because I saw it on Steam the other day, and I thought about getting it. But...
It's super stiff. Like, that's the thing, is they went in a more rigid combat direction. And maybe I'm just, like, it's been a long time since I played the original one. Maybe I'm misremembering, and maybe that's always been that way, but I just remember the combat in the first one being a lot smoother and a lot faster paced. And then playing the Dissidia NT, the newest one that came out, like, it was not fun. Like, it frustrated me more than anything how often it felt like I was just standing there and getting hit. Really? Because it was recovering from me swinging my weapon, or like recovering from me dodging or something like that. Like, it just did not feel good.
Lame. Can you still play Sephiroth?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. Did they not introduce Sephiroth and Cloud into a Smash Brothers game?
Yeah, the newest one.
Big missed opportunity. So going back to the whole speculation thing, before they announced who the exclusive Soul Calibur characters were going to be for PS3 and Xbox 360, me and my friends were like, because they said it's going to be like a game-changing crossover, is what they said, like a genre-defining crossover. Like, they were really hyping that, and we're like, dude, that's got to be Final Fantasy VII. It has to be. Like, that fits that vein so well. We thought that Sephiroth was going to be on PlayStation 3 and Cloud was going to be on Xbox. That's what we thought.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then it turns out it was Star Wars characters, and I was like, God, what a letdown.
Yeah, oh yeah, because you had Darth Vader and The Apprentice, and
Apprentice was in both.
Yeah.
You had Yoda.
Oh, Yoda, yes. I had the PlayStation 1, so.
Yeah, so you got Vader, which was arguably the better character, but.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that unlocked a memory for me. Like, oh, man.
Yep. I, not to brag, but cleared a Soul Calibur tournament just a couple days ago, so.
Nice, dude.
Yeah. It was just with my friends. But,
oh.
They decided who was playing for second place, so.
Nice. I got really good at The Apprentice in that Soul Calibur game.
He's broken.
Yeah, when you know how to use him, yeah. He just never stops attacking.
Yep, and If you can't get, like, if you don't know how to critically guard, you're boned.
Yeah.
If you can't parry, you're boned.
That's just unlocking memories for me. I used to play online and get a lot of hate mail. People call me a pussy for playing a broken character, and I was like, okay, guys.
Okay, look.
I don't agree he was broken. I agree he's broken if you know how to play him, because he's only annoying, like, the CPU on high difficulty, for example. That was really fucking nightmarish.
Dude, just to unlock him, because you fight him at max difficulty.
Yeah.
When like the new challenger appears at the end of the bracket. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I had to edge spam him hard.
Really?
Well, because I play Siegfried, man.
Oh,
so if he gets inside of my guard one time, it's like, oh, there's my health bar.
I played Nightmare in Mitsurugi.
Yep, Nightmare's legit. I liked him better in Soul Calibur 2 when he was one entity, but that's beside the point.
Yeah. I wonder if they're going to have another... Do you think Soul Calibur, like, reached its end, or are they going to make another Soul Calibur game?
Oh, they're going to keep going, for sure.
How many more crossovers can they do, though? Like,
well, the crossover for 6 was amazing.
with Geralt?
Yeah, that's brilliant. Like, they've stopped pulling randos, and they went back to their roots and started pulling what was relevant, because they released Soul Calibur 6 like 8 or 9 months into Witcher 3's life cycle.
Oh, yeah.
So that was brilliant. That was a great move. And I also notice Project Soul tends to release games when there is something important to pull from, like, because there is a big chasm between 5 and 6.
That was true.
Because 5's, I don't even remember. 5 almost broke Project Soul because they got rid of most of their original cast. Like, Taki wasn't there, Keelik wasn't there. They had people that used those weapons, but they weren't the same.
Yeah.
Fans were like, no, what are you doing? Stop. But yeah, I'm really excited. There's more story to be told. I mean, every time they break Soul Edge, it finds new people. So
Yeah, I am kind of astonished how, like, narratively it keeps going forward. I think that... I don't hate it. I'm just astonished that they keep finding ways to do it.
Well, I mean, hell, in Soul Calibur 4, I believe it was. Yeah, it was 4. Raphael had his whole
Vampire thing.
Yeah, that was cool, man.
It was cool.
They introduced his daughter and stuff, and she has yet to be heard from again.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really cool stuff. The character customization keeps people coming back.
It's super... I've thought about buying the 6th one just for the customers, just like character customization.
I mean, if you want to do that, I'll come show you what color your insides are. I'm super good at 6.
I believe you.
Yeah. Well, like, my friend John only plays Inferno because that's the only way that we can actually have fun together. Because if he plays Inferno, he stomps me bad. Because, again, that was the boss of Soul Calibur 2. So, anyway, sorry. I can talk about this literally all day.
Well, I'll put a stop to it now then, and talk about my last thing I'm excited for.
Oh, is this a big one?
It is a big one. You guys might have remembered on some of the past episodes I've talked about Dragon's Dogma before.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very, very special game to me. I talked about this a little bit in the last episode too. The sequel was announced. When I go into that a little bit deeper now, I have such mixed feelings about it. I really do, because the first one was special, and it came from a place of vision, and it came from a place of, like, wanting to create a special experience. I don't know if it's going to have the same integrity as the first project, and that worries me. I also worry about how much of modern gaming will infect it. You know, is it going to be released with a bunch of DLC? Is it going to be released with a bunch of, you know, outfits and costumes and weapons and boosts or, like, whatever, you know? I thought the cosmetic stuff was cool in the first game, but I think what annoyed me the most about it was that the cosmetic stuff was clearly, there was more work put into it. In terms of, like, just how cool it looked. So I hope that trend does not follow, and we don't get, like, your basic fantasy flavored armor and then get, like, really cool stuff in the shop. I don't know, it's just with the state of gaming being what it is now, and the fact that it's taken this long for a Dragon's Dogma sequel to come out, I'm really, really worried about the integrity of the project.
Okay.
And on the other hand, I'm very excited. You know, I am. one of my favorite games of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And if they do maintain the same level of like bare minimum same level of care as the first one, it's gonna be great.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always wanted to know more about that universe because that universe is super cool.
Yeah, it is. I played the first one a little bit.
Yeah.
Probably like 40 or so hours.
Nice, dude.
Yeah, no, it got me, dude. It hooked me hard. I think I have the same fears you do, just because gaming is in a different place now than it was then. I feel like if they just throw the blinders on and just do what they did, I think it could be something really great. But yeah, I'm excited.
I'm tentatively excited, you know, like many things. And going back to Crisis Core just a little bit, like
Sure.
that was kind of the same thing too. Is I don't know if it's a remake or it is a remaster. It sounds like it's a little of both. Same thing with that project. It just I trust Square Enix more, but like keep that level of integrity. You know, don't make the story weird or retcon stuff because like the story's good as is. You know, like
Totally.
let it be what it is. You know.
Twisty too. Good story.
I have seen screenshots. They supposedly it's going to be a different combat system, but it's still going to have like the roulettes in it, which I actually really didn't like those at first. I thought they were a really dumb gameplay mechanic, but I really liked them at the end of the game when I figured out what they represented basically, and I was like, oh, I love that. You know, like just the amount of like speculation you can do with that basically, like whenever they pop up, like, oh, why is Zach thinking about this character right now? You know, like what they actually represent. I was like, that's awesome. So
Yeah, okay. Sorry, I'm digging through hours of gameplay in my head. Yeah, no, that was a good game, man.
it really was. So let's just hope for that. But moving away from this, is there a game you're excited for?
What's that?
Is there any other games you're excited for?
No, honestly, like, I keep my expectations very low, and I go hunting for gems.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe more DLC, another DLC package for Risk of Rain 2 would be cool. But I don't know if that studio is fully off the ground yet or not, because their first two games were really great. But I don't know if they're going to release anything else, or if they're working on I don't really know what else you can do in that universe. Risk of Rain 2 pretty much nailed the entire like true success sequel story, so we'll see.
Yeah. So we're gonna kind of gonna get into the more optimistic, hopeful part of things. We said we're gonna talk a little bit about just stuff we ideally like to see, or ideally like to see less of. I think my list is more so less of. But,
Oh yeah.
a first one for me is it's kind of twofold. Is that games are super pretty these days, and that's great.
Yeah.
But I scale back the graphics some. It's okay that they're not as pretty as they can be. Scale back the graphics is going to save you money to make a better game. Because I imagine there's got to be so much of a budget put into making the game look as good as it does to pay the people doing the art and pay the people doing the the designing and everything. Scale that back a little bit. Make better quality. I talked about this with the Horizon sequel. I really liked the first game. The second game was beautiful, but it just fell flat as a sequel. It just did not feel good to me. Had some good points, yes, but it fell flat to me. And I just looking at that game, all the budget must have been built towards like making it look fucking amazing, and they succeeded. I fully admit that it looks great, but that's about all they succeeded on. So that's a big one for me. It's just like it doesn't need to look as good as it possibly can be. And I was talking about Xenoblade Chronicles as well. Like that's a good example of that because it's got a very cartoony kind of like anime art style, but it still looks really good. And even like this has more to do with the Switch than like the game itself. But, like even the Switch like doesn't run things great, but quality games all around, super quality games. And that's kind of my point when I was talking about earlier as well. Like Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is like people are already bashing on it for the art style, and it's like, stop. Like,
yeah, just hang out for a second.
Like it's fine if it's not the most beautiful thing you've ever seen, but just fucking enjoy the game because it will probably, hopefully, be good.
Yeah, no kidding. I can take or leave graphics honestly. Like if you were to look through like my Steam catalog. It's everything from 8-bit to 16-bit to, like, you can really see a progression of, like, graphical enhancements. And the games that keep me hooked are the ones with, oh yeah, great storylines and good mechanics.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I think Dead Cells is a great example of that. Dead Cells is a very, very not graphically appealing game, but the art that is in that game is very interesting. It makes you want to learn more about it, and the gameplay is just fun as hell. Like, I don't know that it's something you'd be into because it is very much like
Well,
smash your head against it until you get to
I
it.
like Skull the Hero Slayer, which I don't know if it's the same company or there's just an homage to Dead Cells in it. But that's a roguelike I really enjoy, as well as Wizard of Legend. That's a very fun one. And those are roguelikes. So I just smash your head against it.
Yeah.
It depends on the gameplay loop. Honestly, I want to have fun with what I'm doing with my hands. It has nothing to do with the fact that all those games are 8-bit, and I enjoy looking at them. They are cool. I still appreciate that art style very much. But what really draws me in for a roguelike is I need to enjoy what I'm doing with my hands. Like, I need to like the combat, or I'm not going to play it.
Next time you're over, I'll give you a bash on
Okay.
Dead Cells.
Yeah.
Tell me what you think, because it's very fast paced and it's very reaction time oriented, which I really enjoy. And also, like, just the different pairings of weapons that you pull can give you vastly different plays, like, which I really like. I've never beaten that game.
Yeah.
I've gotten to the second boss, and I need to learn how to suck less. That's the whole point. But it's not a frustrating thing. Like, I never feel bad if I just boot up Dead Cells and play it for like 15 minutes and put it back down, because you're unlocking more and more stuff all the time. So not a bad deal. Same for Risk of Rain. I'll go do a quick run on that and then be like, that was good. That's good enough.
We should do a few runs of Wizard of Legend in return. We'll do a co-op game
Sure.
because it's co-op. So
Sure.
yeah,
So is Risk of Rain.
it's a lot of fun. Great. So as long as we have some plans.
That sounds good to me, man.
Just kind of keeping on theme with what I was just talking about as well. And I've touched on this a little bit about, like, I'm really concerned with where we're going with realism. That realism is infecting everything, and the goal is to make this realistic as possible. I would really like to see developers embrace less realistic art styles. Embrace the anime, cartoony, edgy, artistic, cell shaded, whatever. Embrace that look. It doesn't need to be realistic. It doesn't need to be hyper realistic. Some of the this extends to other things as well. Like, some of the movies that I've had the most problems with of, like, live action remake. We talked a little bit in the remake episode, like Aladdin, Lion King, stuff like that. Lion King less so, but one of my biggest issues with them is, like, it doesn't need to be live action. Just the original ones were so good because they were a cartoon. You could do cool stuff in the cartoon. Make them that. We don't need live action.
Yeah, no,
And
it's
it's
definitely not necessary. Yeah.
Yeah, and the same with video games. Like, I don't need them to look like a real person. I'm fine with a cel shaded artistic look or something like that. Like, my fiance was playing Rogue Galaxy the other day because I was talking to her about it, and she had played it a while ago, but she wanted to go back to it. And I was just like, yeah, this art style is amazing. Like, it really is just like this very comic book shaded kind of look to it.
Yeah.
It looks incredible. Like, just let it be what it is, So, I mean, I don't feel like we need to do live action animes, live action movies. Same with video games. We don't need to go this live action, like, they're remaking Resident Evil 4 and the first Last of Us game, and those games don't need a remake. There's no reason to do it.
Resident Evil 4 already had a remake.
Well, there's a new remake where you can see the pores on his face, and it's just super hyper realistic.
What the hell? Why?
I don't know. That's kind of my point. Like, why? I don't know.
Who's that for? It's not for me, because, like, I will go grab my PS2 if I'm going to play Resident Evil 4. Super cool that it came out for PS4, too, because, like, accessibility. We've talked about that.
Yeah.
But why? I don't understand.
I just don't see it. Yeah. I mean, this was a big problem as well with, like, there's, like, a Dragon Age game, not Dragon Age, a Dragon Quest game that came out, and, like, I think, like, a year or 2 years later, it got a remake, and I was like, it doesn't need a definitive edition. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, it looks fine. How is it enhanced? Are you fucking kidding me? Like,
that kind of irritates me, man. That's grabby.
it is grabby, yes.
I'm not into grabby, man.
Yeah.
What the hell? That bothers me. Sorry,
Yeah, and the thing is, I know a lot of people are excited about it, and I'm not saying you're wrong for being excited about it. And I think that it does touch a particular spot of, like, if you really love the series, sure, it's fun to see it even better.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not necessary.
No, it's not. Why don't you reallocate those assets and make something new
Yeah,
that can be as pretty as you want it to be?
yeah, exactly. So, I don't know. That's just something I'd like to see a lot less of.
Yeah, same. Just waste in general. I see a lot of, like, especially in the fantasy stuff that I play. Like, if we could just stop having a damn card game or a damn battle machines game in a game just for the sake of the people that want that. Like, I guess I gotta reflect my own lens on myself and say, look, well, if you don't like it, you don't have to play it. Sure, fine, that's fair. It's just
I like card games and video games.
I just don't understand why every game that I play now has to have its own little trading card game associated with it inside of it. It just doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, if we want to be, like, super, like, cold and, like, realistic with it, it's probably, like, the potential of marketing. Because if, the Witcher, the original Witcher Gwent game got a actual card game,
Yeah.
not a horrible digital one. It got an actual physical hold in your hands Gwent card game, and that, I'm sure it's just for the option of things like that.
It's dumb.
But
I don't care
I don't. Maybe because I don't live in Japan and it's possible it's there, but I've never seen them try and market triple triad cards in the U.S.
What the hell are those?
It's one of the Final Fantasy card
Oh.
games in it. It came back multiple times. It's actually in 14. I played all the time. I love it. Yeah, but I've never seen them try and market that as, like, an actual card game. So I don't know. Yeah, I can't agree with you on that one. I love card games and video games as long as they're fun, but by the same token, you don't have to play it.
Yeah, I don't understand. Again, I don't understand why it's like what you said makes sense, but
Yeah.
why? Who cares? I don't. I sure as hell don't. How about? Oh yeah, I'm sorry that we're dealing with your botchling child. How about a round of Gwent? Go fuck yourself, man.
Well, maybe my next thing will kind of help add to that, because maybe not to that degree, but something else I want to see more of are pure projects. And what I'm referring to when I say pure projects is, like, it is only a single player game, or it is strictly a multiplayer game with maybe some single player aspects, but this game was made to play with people. There's this real huge issue, and I hate to talk about Elden Ring again, but this was one of the big ones, because the justification FromSoft made to attempt to nerf abilities in Elden Ring and stuff like that was like, well, the PvP community is hurting because of it. I get PvP is a huge thing in PvP is a huge thing in the Souls games, but I don't know. I think leading to projects like that, that's where this problem comes from.
I'd agree.
Same with, like, this kind of leads to that loot box mentality as well, because that creates a level of, like, I can overcome somebody by buying this, and so now I'm better than you.
Right.
We saw this with Diablo Immortal just recently. This is the big crux of that whole thing. You had people playing the game for a very, very long time, and then people who just spent money fucking destroy you in PvP.
Yeah.
And that's the only difference. They spent money and you didn't.
Call that pay to win. Literally.
Exactly. I have a couple examples of that too, because so Dragon Age Inquisition, Dragon Age generally is a single player game.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, Inquisition, they came out with a multiplayer mode. It was fucking terrible.
I didn't know that.
It was awful. Not only was it awful, like, I don't even think they kept adding support for it. I don't think they kept enhancing it at all.
Really?
No, and there was this whole thing where, like, you weren't even allowed to play your character. You had to play, like, a pre-made character, and then you had to play the online mode enough to unlock other pre-made characters to, like, if you want to be a different class or something like that.
That's dumb.
It was just really, really lame and flat, and it was not good. And, I have issues with Inquisition because they tried to make an open world game, but I have issues with it more because that game just did not feel like it was as polished as it should have been before it was released.
I saw somebody play that game at length, and it just did not look like a good time. Like
It was a very flat experience compared to the other two, especially a very flat experience.
the person I watched beat that game, like when they finished it, they were just like, "I did it." Like that was it.
Yeah.
And then closed it out and never touched it again. Like, so to me, I'm just like, red flag. Maybe that's not a very good game.
Yeah,
And I heard such high things about the first two.
they're very good. One for its story, two for its story and combat. People hate that game because it was, cookie cutter dungeons. Who fucking cares? Like, if it's fun, it's fun.
It's like
That's
that's like trying to say that Champions of Norath is bad because it's cookie cutter dungeons. No way.
no way at all, man. That's another game that a sequel was announced for, is the new Dragon Age game, and I find myself not caring, unfortunately.
I thought you were about to say that another Champions game was coming out.
Oh god, I wish.
Excuse me.
I wish.
How did we miss that?
Yeah, no. But other good examples of that is so Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles.
Oh.
That's got a fun single player mode,
Mm-hmm.
but it was built to play with your friends. It is a multiplayer game.
Yeah, it's a super fun multiplayer game.
Yeah. And granted, you can say Nintendo is cash grabby and being like, well, you gotta buy Game Boy Advances and you gotta buy cords and blah blah blah, but at the end of the day, it was fun. Mm-hmm. And the remasters on Switch and PlayStation are awesome. They really are. It's basically the same game, and it's fun to play. It's still very fun, and yeah, that is a pure experience in my eyes, because you can play it single player, sure, but it's meant to be played with friends.
Yeah, that game didn't really open up for me until I had friends over.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And similarly as well, theme-wise as well, like, you can look at a lot of, like, normal Final Fantasy games, and they are purely single-player. It's only Final Fantasy 14 that can do both really well. Like, they do that element very, very well. Like, yeah, it's an RPG, play it by yourself if you want to. Or, here's friends stuff. Mm-hmm. Or random people in this case, because it's MMO. But, and that's kind of the same thing as, these are games I don't personally like, but like Stardew Valley or like Rune Factory. Mm-hmm. They're not bad games. It's just not my thing. I don't like farming sims, but they do a good job because they simulate what they actually are on paper. They don't try and be like, yeah, we're all these things. They're like, no, this is what we are. This is what the game is. Mm-hmm. Similar to I talked about Minecraft. That's what it is,
Yeah, here you go. This is the game.
So I would like to see more pure projects like that. Just kind of similar to what you're saying, like trying to appeal to everybody. Mm-hmm. Or try and open up every single avenue possible for gameplay. Let's just do one.
Yeah, like, again, gonna turn that lens inward. I think if BDO were to focus more on its combat aspects and kind of drop some of the other stuff, it would, not to say that I don't like doing that stuff, but I think that might appeal to more people, get more people putting money into the project, better, cooler stuff can happen.
Yeah.
If that were to go down, yeah, because that game is pretty widely spread on what is available for it. But to narrow its focus, yeah, I think most online games could benefit from something like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that was one of the big things we talked about in like some of the last few episodes alone.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Going along with that as well, like, the opposite coin of that, or side of the coin, I guess I would say, is you, not to say BDO is like stretch or anything like that. Mm-mm. So I'm not piggybacking off at that point, but I'm just saying in general, is you have these games that like they come out and like the advertisement's like, oh, there's 40 hours of gameplay, there's 60 hours of gameplay, like this game is gonna be so huge, you can do whatever you want, it's so good, right? Mm-hmm. And then most of it is designed to be grindy as fuck. Mm-hmm. For you to achieve something.
Right.
And that's where your 40 hours of gameplay comes. That's where your 60 hours of gameplay comes from. It's not quality content. It's not fulfilling content. It's just
content.
It's just content. And like technically they're not lying, but holy fuck. Mm-hmm. It's what Blizzard does now. It's what Diablo is doing now. It's, don't go in that direction. It's not a good direction to go in. But unfortunately a lot of games have, and
I don't know what's happened in the last like 10 years, maybe fewer, maybe like 7 years, where it takes like a gem of a game developer to listen to their audience. What the heck? Like, these are the people that are paying for your product. Why would you not listen to what they have to say? Especially if it's a very loud consensus. Like, yeah, everybody wants blue chickens in the game, but you're only giving us red. That's what it feels like sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
I will say Pearl Abyss did address this. They're like, we want a new class. We want a new melee combat class, unlike anything else. And they're like, got you. And they made the Dragon Knight chick. And everybody was like, that's exactly what I wanted.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I mean, not to bring it back, but yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about earlier. Like, you know, with Yoshi P, man, like,
Dude,
it's rare.
Playing Final Fantasy 14, like, while it is not my MMO of choice, I would say, it's very good, and everything feels like it was gone over very carefully.
Exactly, yeah, and I can say it only gets better. I can assure you, it only gets better.
It's fun, like I said. It's just not what I'm doing currently.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Is it fine?
It is fine. No, I look forward to when you get back into it. Like,
Yeah.
I'd love to talk to you about it. Like, like I think I texted you this one time. You told me you were enjoying it, and I was like, yeah, as much fun as you're having now, I promise you it will get better.
Yeah, no, I've yet to be disappointed. Like, there's a lot of little stuff that I actually enjoy doing. Like, monster hunting, that's cool. Like, everybody wants to do that.
You're probably like the second expansion the most. Just what the setting is, as well as like that's when they really opened up the monster hunting thing, and that's where a lot of stuff is there.
Dope. Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah. I won't spoil anything for you though, because obviously I'm not gonna do that.
Thanks, man.
But kind of similar to what we were talking about earlier with delaying projects. I want to see more delayed projects, and I know this is like a horrible thing to say when you're talking about consumerism, but like I want to see more delayed projects. I want more companies to admit, yeah, it's not ready, and we need more time, and so it's not coming out for another 6 months. It's not coming out for another year. I'm sorry, but we need more time. I know a lot of people are not going to be okay with that, but it's what needs to be done. You know, with Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and God of War Ragnarok, like those games alone were delayed for polish, like purely polish. And that's why I have more hope for them. Well, obviously God of War, but with Xenoblade Chronicles 3, because like that was they admitted that fully. They're like, yeah, the game's done, but we want to make sure it's good before we release it.
Yeah.
And so it'll come out in 2 months instead of now.
Fair. I mean, that's integrity for the product. And guess what, when those projects release, their developers can stand next to it and be like, this is the best I could do. And I don't mean that as a negative context. Like, this is the best of what we were capable of.
Yeah. With the God of War Ragnarok, like, it was delayed, and I have no evidence it was done, but the speculation on the internet is that it's being delayed for polish because they keep releasing like gameplay videos and stuff of it where it's like, hey, here's what we're working on, you know, and like it looks amazing. So the speculation is like, yeah, it's done, but they're making sure it's good.
Of course.
And that's kind of what it looks like. It's the vibe it gives off. And so like, yeah, I want to see more things like that. I know it's going to piss off a lot of people. Delay your games. I will happily wait longer if I get a good product.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly what needs to happen, man.
Yeah.
Be willing to stand by your product.
Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't release a game and be like, oh, like, it's okay, you know? So, I don't know. Another thing is we can't really fight it anyways, so more remasters.
Yeah, totally.
Not remakes. Remasters. I want more accessibility options. I want games that only came out for a niche console or only came out 20 years ago or whatever. Like, remaster it, do not remake it. I want more of that. We can't fight it anyways, it's going to happen, so put it in a positive direction is all I'm asking for.
Yeah, don't try to sell me the same story with 500 new things that you've added that I don't care about.
Yeah.
Please no more of that. More Grandia 2. How about that?
Yeah. I played the first one a little bit recently since we talked about it. Yeah. So I got that combo pack on the Switch. So
yeah, I got the just the second one on Steam. Totally worth it. So much fun.
Couple of things. Last few things I want to go over before we end it. I really kind of what you were saying, like blue chickens, red chickens, whatever. Stop whining. I'm just tired of whining from the community. Like, the thing is that not every video game per se is going to be exactly to your qualifications.
Yep.
And we kind of talked about this in the last episode, like the games that we really stand by, the top 5, those are games that just happen to fit into a thing that we really loved, and it worked out for us.
Totally.
But as I said in that episode, the other games I talked about, I was like, yes, I like a lot of games, but I would not call them perfect. I would not call them amazing. I would not be like, this is 100% my thing. But that's okay. It doesn't have to be. The point is I still had fun. And if you're enjoying the game you're playing, but it doesn't have blue chickens in it, fucking who cares?
Yeah. Maybe
suck it up.
Go find a game that does have blue chickens.
Yeah.
It might be completely different.
I'm going to put that on a t-shirt. That's really good.
Yeah. Yeah. Go find your blue chickens, man. Yeah.
That's kind of a good segue too. Like, branch out more, man. Like,
100%.
I want to see people branch out more instead of demanding the same thing over and over again. Just to, again, nail in another point of 14 because I love it so much. A lot of WoW players adamantly refuse to try any other MMO at all. And there are tons of YouTube channels now where they're like, yeah, I stopped playing WoW. Started playing Final Fantasy 14. It's really good, and I'm having a lot of fun, and I'm overall not a dick anymore. And like, just that's kind of the vibe of it, It's like, so if I say this because these are people probably like me who played WoW for like 13, 14, 15 years, Try new things. A lot of my gameplay experiences, I have come from me trying many, many new things to ensure that, like, how do I not know I don't like this per se? Or how do I know that I do like this per se?
Exactly.
So that's what you got to do. So please try new things.
Yeah, don't be afraid. If you're not a big sci-fi dude or gal, try a sci-fi game.
Yeah.
You might be into it. You never know. You might be into it.
You never know, like, what kind of flavor you might like. I like sci-fi fantasy. That's a niche requirement for me because I like fantasy games. But yeah, Star Ocean, Rogue Galaxy.
Phantasy Star when that was still apparently still is going, but
Xenoblade Chronicles, by the way, very sci-fi fantasy. Lots of fun. Lots of fun. So, you can find flavor adjacent, So just consider that.
Find your own blue chicken.
Exactly. And then the last thing I just want to talk about is not even talk about. I just want to say, like, hopefully more people are realizing this with Diablo Immortal and everything, but we have a voice.
Yes.
We don't have to accept that things are the way they are, or be like, oh, that game came out and it sucks. I guess we just accept that. Vocalize that it sucks. Do not allow game developers and the corrupt corporations to get away with it. Don't pander to it and be like, yeah, it's amazing, it's 10 out of 10, perfect, it's great, but it's only now even, I was one of the biggest advocates that Elden Ring was not as good as people say it is, and it's only now, however long it's been, that people are like, well, I like it, but okay, maybe it's not perfect.
Yeah, the hype monster that gets a lot of things, man.
Yeah, so I just, we don't have to accept the way things are. Matt made a very interesting point before of, like, unfortunately when you're the minority and, like, your voice is very, very quiet because there's not enough of you, it sucks. We just have to work on making our voices louder. We can talk to other people and spread that around and spread things around and be like, we don't have to accept this. This is poor quality. There are many things you can just flat out refuse to buy. If a game developer releases a shitty game and it makes very poor money, maybe they will start to consider, like, why isn't it succeeding? You got to force them in that position, because there are a lot of corporations, unfortunately, they just have to make a dollar.
Yeah, and not just make a dollar, folks, but make a dollar off of you.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
So spread that around, do what we're doing, make a podcast or talk to your friends about it. And, speaking of sharing things around, you should share this podcast around.
100%. It's certified fresh, good quality.
I want to say thank you to everyone who's been supportive. Like, there's been a lot of people being super supportive of the podcast. I've heard a lot of great feedback from friends, from people online, from random strangers I don't know, just being like, no, this is really good. Like, that feels really good.
Yeah, that's always nice to read.
So we're at this point now where we have some steady growth, but, bigger and better, obviously, that's the point. So tell your friends, tell your family, tell whoever. On Spotify especially, we're like 14 listeners away from, like, starting to make some money off that. So, you know, help that out if you can. All those links will be below. Subscribe, you know, comment, all that stuff wherever you're at. But most importantly, thank you. And, you know, thank you for anything you do among that list as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. We always appreciate good comments, good feedback, good anything. Like, we read all of it. So
yeah, I spend hours doing that. So
yeah, your voice is definitely being heard. You know, much like we just talked about. Like, also don't be afraid to, you know, tell us how you're feeling.
Oh, for sure. I love getting comments like that. I'm just like, oh, I don't agree with this point necessarily. It's like, that's great, man. That's cool. That's what this is about. Have your own opinions.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think that's all I have left to say.
Yeah, just thank you to everybody who's listening and supporting, doing what we're doing.
Yeah. Well, go find your own blue chicken.
Yeah, go find your blue chicken. Cool sign-off phrase.